Welcome in again to another episode of the Crypto Dojo Show, where we discuss everything you should know about the world of crypto. And before we get into the content today, I would just like to say it's a blessing. It is a blessing to be able to pursue things that we're passionate about. And as you can tell, one of the things that I am passionate about is learning, discussing, and teaching about these new technologies that are going to reshape how we interact. And with that being said, the white paper that we're going to be looking at today from the World Economic Forum is entitled The Digital Transformation Powering the Great Reset. And this white paper is from July 2020. So this paper is already 4 years old. But the information in it is so pertinent still. So let's move right along through this. And as usual, I'm not going to read this whole white paper. I'm just going to take out some clips that I thought were important. So we are going to start with the executive summary. COVID-19 has irrevocably changed our world. During COVID-19, we had to learn how to live differently. We had to learn, work, socialize, shop, worship, and collaborate in different ways. And many of us are doing all this virtually. The pandemic is therefore a watershed moment for the digital transformation of business. Now, the reason that first sentence is important is because they're letting us know that a lot of different ways that we interact with each other are going digital. And the reason this is important as it relates to uh, digital assets, cryptocurrencies, is they are the digital way that people can interact in terms of commerce, in terms of how value is moved. So, just to correlate, um, a digital way that people can interact with one another is Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So, this is a digital way that instead of being physically present with one another, we can still have interaction, see each other, communicate through a digital medium. Now, that is for communication. Now, when we're talking about digital assets and cryptocurrencies, it's the same thing. Digital assets, cryptocurrencies, they are the equivalent of the Zoom. They are the equivalent of the Microsoft Teams in the example. And we're moving value just like in Microsoft Teams and Zoom, you're moving communication. So, this is why this is important. The pandemic is therefore a watershed moment for the digital transformation of business. The rules for success have changed and are ever more reliant on harnessing the power of digital models to create new value and experiences. Digital transformation is not a new endeavor for business, though prior attempts have often failed to realize its full potential. What is new in the wake of COVID 19 is that this is a shared opportunity for leaders. Successful leaders will now seize the opportunity to advance a new trajectory for digital transformation that aligns with the changing role of business to be a powerful enabler of long term value creation for all of its stakeholders. This paper explores the increasing yet evolving role and relevance of digital transformation in business today. It offers an opening frame for a multi-year cross-industry program to co-create the new playbooks for executive decision-making and action in a post-pandemic business normal. It presents 3 opportunities for digitally enabled corporate leadership to support the Great Reset. There is a Great Reset happening. This is from the world, and keep in mind, this is from the World Economic Forum. There is a Great Reset that is occurring. Great Reset of our economies and societies. In 2020 and beyond, the Accelerating Digital Transformation Program facilitated by the World Economic Forum. Facilitated by the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is a body of individuals who represent different companies, governments, private interests, and they convene once a year at the beginning of every year, and they come up with solutions for society. We'll say that. They come up with solutions for society. And the different policies, not really policies, but the guidelines, that's a better word. The different guidelines that they come up with at these meetings, those guidelines are then given to businesses, governments, for them to implement into their respective jurisdictions. So, America, Canada, Mexico, Nigeria, Australia, all of these different countries have to adhere to these different guidelines. The countries themselves, the governments, as well as businesses, they create guidelines for industries, and those industries have to adhere to those guidelines. Now, what happens if the businesses or the governments don't adhere to the guidelines? Well, you get cut off. You get cut off from global trade. That's what happens. It's a body that conducts central planning for the world, basically. So, facilitated by the World Economic Forum, will support conversations and collaborations among the members of a growing community of leaders who are redefining digital business transformation as an engine of future value for both their organizations and society. So what I just said, organizations meaning companies, society meaning the government. Different governments. Look at this robot. That's wild. So this robot probably gonna take her job. Let's see. What else is important in here? The rising urgency of digital transformation. They're trying to hurry. They're trying to move this thing along. For consumers, employees, and partners, the shift in behavior has been swift and dramatic since the onset of the COVID-19 crisis. Internet usage has risen by 70%. The use of communication apps has doubled, and some video streaming services have seen daily usage rise 20-fold. Never have we been so aware of our dependence on digital models, and we are not going back. This train is moving forward. We is not going back. So, as this train moves and it begins to speed up, it's best to know what's going on the train and where the train is going. With the power of digital technology so very visible, leading companies must now use technology to transform business itself to deliver for a broader set of stakeholders. What does that mean? With the power of digital technology so very visible, leading companies must now use technology to transform business itself to deliver for a broader set of stakeholders. So, y'all need to get this in order, because these people with this money, they have ownership, they have stake in what's going on, and we need to deliver. We need to deliver to the stakeholders. They invested. They need to get a return on their investment. That's what they're saying. So companies, leading companies, are having to incorporate these new guidelines in their business models. So the guidelines are the introduction of these new technologies to their business models. An example for digital assets, cryptocurrencies, would be banks moving onto blockchains, moving their processes onto blockchains, more so like the back end processes that people really don't see, but moving those processes onto the blockchain, because, and without getting too deep, just to kind of speak on it broadly, moving their back end processes onto the blockchain is going to save money, not only for the banks, but it'll save money for the end users as well. And it will speed up settlement times. So they'll eliminate fees. So basically right now, when they go through their settlement process, it costs them a lot of money. Not only does it cost them a lot of money, it's slow and inefficient. So using these new technologies will speed up that settlement process, as well as eliminate costs that they incur because of the current process that is being used. You know what I'm saying? That's important. So I think this was the last main thing I just wanted to touch real quick. Pause. Before COVID-19 hit, the business landscape was already becoming more competitive and volatile. In the mid 20th century, the average Fortune 500 company lasted 75 years. Today, that average is 15 years, thanks to technology disruption. Digital leaders are rewriting the rules of competition, putting more companies' survival at risk. While the pandemic adds further disruption and accentuates calls for a great reset of our economies and societies. We're living through it. We're living through the Great Reset. And really what the Great Reset is also, it's a lot of different moving parts. But basically, and I've said this in previous videos, but I'm going to always bring this up. There have been 5 world reserve currencies. 5 world reserve currencies. Now, when I say world reserve currency, yes, there's more than one at one time, but there's always a dominant leader in world reserve currencies. Right now, that leader is the United States. So, initially it was Spain. After Spain, it was the Netherlands, Dutch. After the Dutch, it was the French. Right? After the French, it was the British. And after the British, it is currently the United States, the US dollar. So, and if you go back and watch, if you go back and watch the Pirates of the Caribbean, that is what all of that war that was going on, it had to do with that. If you watch, it's 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 transitioning from Spain to the Dutch. The Dutchman. Listen to what I'm saying. One of them ships was called the Dutchman. So there was a transition from Spain to the Dutch, and basically the Dutch was taking over their trading routes. But anyway, so you got those 5 world reserve currencies, and each currency lasts about 100 years. We'll say about 100 years, roughly, not exactly, but about 100 years. So there's always a reset when that happens. So when it went from Spain to the Dutch, that was a great reset. When it went from the Dutch to the French, that was a great reset. When it went from the French to the British, that was a great reset. When it went from the British to the United States, that was a great reset. And now we're going from the U.S. dollar to something else. But it's not going to be. We're not going back to it. We're not going to another fiat currency. It's going to be digital. And that is what the Great Reset is. This always happens. It happens in cycles, but we don't be here long enough to know that. You know what I'm saying? You just got to look at history. And history, they say history repeats itself, but it doesn't really repeat itself. It rhymes. I heard that and I like that one better. History doesn't repeat itself. It rhymes. It's not exactly the same, but it's close to it. So, yeah, just good information to know and be aware of, so that as we are maneuvering our independent ships, because we are captains of our own ships, and as we are navigating these turbulent waters through this turbulent time, having good information is of the utmost importance. So, with that being said, I definitely appreciate you for tuning in to another episode of the Crypto Dojo Show, where we discuss everything you should know about the world of crypto.